Through the many years of this horror genre's existence, there have been some legendary movies that take place in a cabin. And we have seen some different approaches to using this setting, from hauntings, witchcraft, and psycho killers. It's always intriguing because naturally cabins are kind of creepy. You're secluded, and when the sun goes down, you have this unsettling feeling that you're being watched, which makes the cabin a perfect place for an effective horror movie. With that being said, I'd like to ask you, what is the bloodiest cabin horror movie that you've ever seen? Welcome back, everyone, to MC Lovin' Movies. I'm your host with the most, MC. For tonight's episode, we are going to put two of the bloodiest cabin horror movies ever made head to head to determine which is harder to get through. I like gore as much as the next fan, but there are times when you feel like the filmmaker is intentionally trying to just drag out a disgusting scene, or maybe just go a little too far for shock value. I chose these two movies in particular because I watched them recently and was just astounded with how much gore was involved in these films, making me ask myself, are these the bloodiest cabin horror movies that I've ever seen? There's other films that come close, but I think these two really take the cake. So the movies that I picked for this gore war, if you will, is 2013's remake of the 1981 classic Evil Dead, going against 2002's vomit-inducing Eli Roth-directed Cabin Fever. And I know you're wondering, why not the original Evil Dead? A bloody good movie, figuratively and literally. While that is true, the remake definitely amps up the violence and gore. If you've seen it, then you definitely know what I'm talking about, making it an easy choice to make an argument for bloodiest cabin horror movie. And if you've seen Cabin Fever, then you know why I chose that one. So first up, we got Evil Dead, released in 2013, directed by Fede Alvarez, starring Jane Levy, Shiloh Hernandez, Jessica Lucas, and Lou Taylor Pucci. This film pays homage to its predecessor, sprinkling Easter eggs throughout this blood-soaked roller coaster. Following the formula of 5 friends in a cabin with the Necronomicon, the difference in the remake is that they are meeting up at the cabin for an intervention to help out Jane Levy's character, who is struggling with addiction. Then all hell breaks loose after one of the members awakens the ancient evil after reading from the Necronomicon, also known as the Book of the Dead. There are several instances where you feel overwhelmed with anxiety and genuine fear. There is a more serious tone to the remake and lets it be known from the opening sequence. Don't get me wrong, this is Evil Dead, so you have to expect blood, and best believe this movie delivers by the gallon. Pacing is a little slow at first, but it does go 0 to 100 real fast. I remember watching this in the theater and just felt physically and emotionally drained after it was finished, and it was in a good way, if that makes any sense. This film succeeded in honoring the source material while adding a few new wrinkles, making this a truly unique entry to the series. This is Evil Dead on steroids and might be a traumatic experience if you're squeamish. Props to Jane Levy for doing a lot of her own stunts, getting buried alive in what was described as a very grueling shoot, but that's to be expected for Evil Dead. Chainsaws, deadites, and lots of blood. But is that enough to win the gore war? Directed by Eli Roth, released in 2003, Cabin Fever stars Ryder Strong, Joey Kern, James DeBello, Jordan Ladd, and Serena Vincent. This film is about a group of friends out on break from school, vacationing at a cabin deep in the woods, where they are exposed to a flesh-eating virus after a random encounter with an infected individual goes horribly wrong. Leading to a series of unpredictable events, Cabin Fever will test your mettle from beginning to end. This is a wildly messed up movie and probably the craziest case of comeuppance ever, based on true events that the director Eli Roth had experienced when he had gotten a skin infection while working on a horse farm in Iceland. On the special features behind-the-scenes interview, he actually described it as his skin eating itself and could see flesh peeling off his face while he was shaving one day. If you're a germaphobe, you might want to skip this one, but if you think you've got what it takes to sit through this over-the-top take on body horror that has plenty of moments that'll make you lose your lunch, You might want to take the time to check this one out. But don't get it twisted. This isn't your average gore fest. The story and the characters do a good enough job keeping you entertained throughout the runtime. Ryder Strong, or as people from my generation know him as Sean from Boy Meets World, has one of the craziest arcs in this film that is pretty badass. Like I said earlier, the less you know, the better if you're planning on watching this for the first time. So, for the moment of truth, the decision for Gore War Champ and title of Bloodiest Cabin horror movie is gonna go to Cabin Fever. And the reason why I chose Cabin Fever, I just feel the overall experience was a little more fun, so the gore didn't really get to you as much, whereas Evil Dead really focused on those moments of tension and shock value. But I'm not even hating on it for that, because I love that movie as well. It was a really tough decision to make, but I recommend that you check out both of these films because they are quite the experience. And maybe you could come to your own conclusion as to which is the bloodiest cabin horror movie. All I know is you can't go wrong with either one. I'd like to thank each of you for taking the time to watch this video. Please like and subscribe, help grow the channel. Watch these films, own them, put them on your shelf. This is MC Loving Movies, and I'm your host with the most, MC, and I'm out.
So I used the bathroom. I done.